Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 630.
WMAL.
7:07 on a Thursday morning in D.C. You're with the Morning Majority. KT McFarland joins us now, Fox News national security analyst. Good morning, KT.
Good morning.
So we're watching what's going on in London the last couple of days, and actually it's spread, through other cities in England. I'm curious to get your take on how you think British leaders and the police have handled these riots.
Well, first of all, I don't think they're political, these riots. I think that this is just a bunch of looting kids that nobody's getting a handle on. The police have been very slow to respond. It's not a country that's used to stuff like that. I think they've got to beef up the police. But politically, David Cameron's doing exactly the right thing. In 1981, Margaret Thatcher faced similar kinds of social unrest, and it almost brought down her prime ministership. She had to act firmly, and frankly, in the end of the day, it was probably the Falklands War that saved her. But so Cameron understands he's got to act very quickly and put down order. The other thing is that people haven't really focused on is the Olympics. Next summer we're going to have the Olympics in London, and several of the events are scheduled to take place right where this rioting is. So while in modern times we think of the Olympics and worry about terrorist threats, there'll be kidnappings like there were in the Munich Olympics from terrorists, but now we seem to have to worry about youth looting violence. And this is not political. This is not the politicians in Great Britain, the liberal politicians say, oh, well, this is as a result of the budget cutbacks these poor people have to take to the streets. Come on, the budget cutbacks, they're going to go steal flat screen TV because the budget cutbacks or the budgets were going to give them flat screen TVs. It just doesn't parse. And to me, it's a combination of extremely bad parenting, lax discipline of young people in Great Britain, and social media gone amok.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think this could actually happen here in the United States?
It already is. Philadelphia. Yeah. Philadelphia's under a curfew, youth curfew. It's called flash mobbing.
Yeah. We talked about that the other day, about how bad it was, and we played the comments from the mayor of Philadelphia, which were encouraging, I thought. But it's not to the point as it is in London and the UK, where we have burning buildings and arrests.
Not 1968 like riots.
Yeah, or L.A. in the 90s.
Like Watts. Yeah, but it could be. Because here's why. It's so easy to do. And if there's no consequence to the people who are doing the looting, because they can't be found, they're wearing masks over their faces, and nobody's reporting them, then I think it becomes tough. We all thought, oh, wow, the Arab Spring is great, when all these people use social media and Facebook to congregate and to sort of put everything in warp speed. A revolution that might have taken several years to happen took several days to happen. But there's another side to this, and it makes bad stuff happen quickly, too.
I want to ask you about this movie. We're going to actually take calls on this in a short while, about this movie, about the bin Laden raid that is going to be done by Catherine Bigelow. She did The Hurt Locker, which I think was a pretty good movie, actually, and showed a lot of the military action in a very positive light. But the thing that's drawing the most attention is Peter King says, well, they shouldn't be giving at the Pentagon classified information to these people. That's a bad move. And then there's the suspicious timing of the release of the movie just weeks before the presidential elections. Any thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I used to be, when I was in the Pentagon in the Reagan administration, as the Pentagon spokesman, one of my jobs was to oversee the unit that cooperated with movie making. And after the Vietnam War, we didn't cooperate with anything because the suspicion was that the media, the press, wanted to make the Pentagon and the military look in a bad light. We famously cooperated over Top Gun, and it turned out to be the Navy's biggest recruiting tool ever. That came out in 1986. It was started early in the Reagan administration, and it was terrific for the military. It was terrific for the box office, and made Tom Cruise's career. Okay, so you have to then say there's some good stuff that can happen out of these movies too. I think the timing is outrageously cynical. Right before the election, but what are you going to do about that? I have a different issue with it, though, and I don't think the professional military is going to give classified information. Politicians might, but I don't think professional military will. But the other problem I have is with the individual who's making the movie. When Catherine Bigelow made The Hurt Locker, she submitted a script.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this.
And then they approved it. Well, then she changed the script. And then she even went as far as to, are you ready for this, take a Humvee with American markings on it, drive it into a crowd at a Palestinian refugee camp in Jordan, and get outraged Palestinians in a sort of angry mob scene, so that she could film it. Now, to me, that is so provocative.
Yeah.
It is misrepresenting the United States. It is doing harm to an ally. It's just got, 10 different things wrong with that. And so this is the woman whose veracity and integrity we're going to trust to do this movie. That's my problem. Now, as far as the administration thinking, we've pulled a fast one, we're going to have this pro-Obama movie come out right before the election, I'd watch out for that. The Hurt Locker turned out to not, it was intended to be an anti-military movie, and as you pointed out, I liked it.
Yeah, it didn't come out that way.
It made me feel good about the military.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movie called The Right Stuff about astronauts. It was coming out right before an election in which John Glenn was supposed to be the Democratic candidate, and the thought was he was going to look like such a great hero. That didn't work out real well. So sometimes these things have a way of backfiring.
All right.
Well, I'm batting cleanup over here. Let's do a little Libya update and Syria as well. It's an Arab Spring update. What the heck is going on in Libya right now?
Well, Libya is the war that never ends. I think if it weren't so tragic, I'd start singing songs about it. It's what it started out to be. When President Obama made the speech, I was on Fox News and gave instant analysis, and I said, this war will end at best in a stalemate. There was no goal going in. There was no matching military abilities to the stated goal. The military said it's not going to be easy, President Obama. The intelligence community said, President Obama, you drop a few bombs on Gaddafi's head, he's not going to leave. In fact, he's going to want to stay even more. We didn't consult with Congress, and President Obama and the guys in the White House thought they knew so much better than everybody else. They overruled them, and so here we are in a situation of no vital U.S. interest, no goal, and no end in sight. And now talking about, well, maybe we can have some negotiation with Gaddafi and let him stay as long as he promises to be a good boy. Well, come on.
How much of the country, sort of vaguely, is Gaddafi in charge of and the rebels in charge of?
Well, you don't know, but I would say if there is a negotiated solution, it could be cut right down the middle. There's a desert in the middle. Gaddafi's guys are on the west. The rebels are on the east. We don't know really who these rebels are. Whoever they are, they haven't stepped up to be some force that is A, unified, or B, inspires confidence.
All right, KT McFarland, always good to have you here on the Morning Majority. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.